To test whether the paralyzed boss could really feel nothing, the caregiver poured hot water directly onto his leg. At dinner, he was too busy checking out the boss's secretary and accidentally fed the boss right in the eye. He even shaved the boss's beard into ridiculous shapes. But despite the caregiver's outrageous behavior, the boss never fired him. Instead, he actually enjoyed having him around. He even offered him an unusually high salary. Philippe was a billionaire at the top of the business world, but during a paragliding accident, he became paralyzed from the neck down. His wife also died in the accident. With no one else to care for him, he had to hire a full-time caregiver. While everyone else waited in line for the interview, Jack simply cut in front of them. Then he casually walked straight into the room. The truth was, Jack only needed to be rejected 3 times to qualify for unemployment benefits, so he had no intention of getting the job. He did not even bother pretending to be polite to Philippe, but Jack's humor and honesty made Philippe feel more relaxed than he had in years. So instead of signing Jack's rejection form, Philippe asked him to come back for a second interview the next day. Jack had spent 2 years away from home after being sent to prison for robbery. He had grown up with very little, and life had never been easy for him. Even taking a shower at home could turn into chaos because of his siblings. For 2 years, his mother had carried the entire family's burden. Now that Jack was finally coming home, all he brought back was a little souvenir, and he had actually taken it from Philippe's house. Jack did not want his mother to know he had been in prison, so he told her that he had spent the past 2 years on vacation in Sanya. His mother believed him, but she was even more disappointed because she thought he had simply wasted those years. Jack looked at the endless rows of skyscrapers, yet still had nowhere to call home. The next day, he returned to Philippe's mansion. He only wanted to get his rejection form and leave, but the butler gave him a tour of the enormous estate. Then he showed Jack an unbelievably luxurious bedroom. Jack had never planned on working there, but when he saw the huge bathtub, he started to reconsider. Back home, he could barely stretch his legs while taking a shower. Just as Jack was about to leave with his rejection form, Philippe called him back. Philippe genuinely liked Jack's sense of humor, so he decided to give him a 1-month trial. Jack finally agreed, mostly because of that 2-meter-long bathtub. On his first day, the housekeeper was explaining all the rules, but Jack had already fallen completely asleep. When Jack first tried to lift Philippe into his wheelchair, he almost dropped him, and then he learned that he also had to help Philippe put on compression stockings. Jack completely lost it, but what really pushed him to his limit was learning that his job also included intimate personal care. That was where Jack drew the line. Even so, Philippe never complained about Jack's careless attitude. Jack was often distracted while working, but Philippe seemed to enjoy his company. Whenever Philippe went out, he normally used a specially equipped vehicle. Jack thought that was too inconvenient, so he pulled the cover off Philippe's Maserati. The engine roared to life. Both men instantly became excited. Since Philippe rarely left the house, the neighbors often parked in front of his driveway. Jack calmly went over to talk to them. After dealing with the problem, the 2 men headed to an art exhibition. Philippe stared at one particular painting. The red mark on the canvas reminded him of his own life. Jack knew almost nothing about art, so Philippe quickly changed the subject. That was just how Jack was. He constantly joked about Philippe's condition, but instead of being offended, Philippe actually felt more comfortable around him. One day, Jack started showing off his huge bathtub to the secretary he had a crush on. He even invited her to take a bath with him. That night, Philippe suddenly cried out in pain. Jack rushed to his bedside. The medication was causing severe side effects. Jack grabbed a towel and wiped the sweat from Philippe's forehead. He even used his cool hands to help lower Philippe's temperature. For once, Jack stayed completely focused on him. To prevent another episode, Jack took Philippe outside for some fresh air. At 4 in the morning, Paris was almost completely silent. Philippe explained that the pain was phantom pain. It felt as if a body part that was no longer there were still being crushed by unbearable pain. The 2 men walked along the waterfront. The cold wind carried Philippe back to memories of his late wife. Those memories had stayed buried inside him for years, but now they came rushing back. Philippe was trapped between grief and regret. When another painful episode hit, Jack quickly helped him calm down. Afterward, the 2 simply wandered through the empty streets. For Philippe, this ordinary moment felt almost impossible. It was a life he had never imagined living again. Philippe finally opened up to Jack. He and his wife had known each other since school. They had fallen deeply in love. They dreamed of having children together, but after several failed pregnancies, they eventually decided to adopt. They hoped it would help heal the emptiness in their hearts. Both of them loved paragliding. Then one day, bad weather changed everything. Philippe lost his wife forever, and he was left permanently paralyzed. His greatest pain was not his body, it was having to live in a world without her. Jack pretended not to understand, but he immediately went looking for his sister. He asked her to help recover the souvenir he had taken from Philippe's house. Then his sister gave him shocking news. Their rebellious younger brother had been taken away by police after a fight. Jack secretly borrowed money to get him released, but the boy still refused to change. The moment he was free, he climbed into a car with some dangerous friends. That finally made Jack realize he needed to become a better role model for his brother. One day Jack learned from the butler that Philippe had a female pen pal. They had been exchanging letters for a long time, but they had never met in person. Philippe had no intention of taking the relationship further. He wanted nothing more than a romantic connection through letters. But Jack immediately saw Philippe's lack of confidence. He encouraged Philippe to take a chance. He might have lost the use of his body, but he could not afford to lose his courage too. Philippe was afraid his condition would scare the woman away. He was afraid she would never accept the man he had become. But Jack did not overthink it. He found her phone number and called her directly. With Jack pushing him forward, Philippe suddenly discovered an entirely new world. From then on, he started talking to the woman everywhere. Their conversations became longer and more personal, but without Jack, Philippe never would have taken that first step. Then came the good news. She was a beautiful woman around 104 pounds, but there was also bad news. She wanted to see a picture of Philippe. Philippe was terrified that she would see his condition and immediately walk away. Jack thought differently. He told Philippe to have some confidence. If she had willingly talked to him for 6 months, she clearly valued who he was. Still, Philippe asked the butler to send an old photo from before the accident. Just then, Jack came storming into the room. While Jack was working on a painting, Philippe's daughter had suddenly walked in. She mocked Jack for being uneducated. Her arrogant attitude reminded Jack of his younger brother. Jack did not want the girl to end up making the same mistakes. After spending so much time together, Jack had already become part of Philippe's family. His caregiving skills also became much more professional. Their daily life was filled with laughter and understanding. They were no longer just a boss and caregiver. They had become old friends. Philippe even bought Jack a suit. Of course, Jack still had to handle the most unpleasant parts of the job. The two men even had snowball fights. But Philippe could only sit there and take the hits. Jack wanted Philippe's wheelchair to keep up with him, so he had someone install a powerful V8 engine on it. Philippe never imagined that a wheelchair could become more dangerous than a car. Under Philippe's influence, Jack slowly became interested in art. He bought some supplies and created his first painting. The butler claimed Jack had no artistic talent, but Philippe encouraged him anyway. To everyone's surprise, someone eventually paid 10,000 euros for the painting. Philippe also gave his daughter a serious lesson about respecting other people. Then came Philippe's birthday. The band hired by the butler was playing with almost no energy. Philippe requested a classical piece, but after everyone had enjoyed the music, Jack chose something much more upbeat. His ridiculous dancing completely changed the atmosphere. Soon, everyone joined him. The entire room turned into a celebration. Seeing his friends laughing and having fun made Philippe genuinely happy. It became one of the most unforgettable birthdays of his life. That night, Jack gave Philippe his birthday present. It was actually a reply from his female pen pal. Inside was a natural photo of the woman. On the back, she had invited Philippe to have coffee with her. The moment Philippe heard about the meeting, he felt both excited and terrified. After all, he had sent her a photo from before his accident. On his way back to his room, Jack suddenly heard Alyssa crying alone. The next day, Jack found the boy and calmly talked some sense into him. Jack had almost no money, but he still tried to solve the problem himself. Soon it was time for Philippe to meet the woman. He arrived at the 5-star restaurant they had agreed on. He was incredibly nervous, but the woman never showed up. Heartbroken, Philippe finally decided to leave. At that exact moment, the two passed each other at the entrance. They were only a few steps apart, yet neither realized who the other person was. Philippe later took a private plane and turned his heartbreak into a trip. He also gave Jack the 10,000 euros from the painting. Then Philippe returned to the place he loved most. It was also where his wife had died. He decided to fly again. He wanted to finally escape the shadow that had followed him for years. Jack was terrified. He had absolutely no idea what he had signed up for. But standing above the mountains, Philippe finally felt free. After everything he had survived, he realized that many obstacles that once seemed impossible were simply part of life. Some pain fades with time, some memories never disappear. But moving forward is still a choice. Jack's family was waiting for him at home. That night, his younger brother showed up with an injury near his eye. Without proper guidance, he had been pulled into trouble by dangerous people. Jack called his sister and begged her not to tell their mother, but she told him to quit his current job and come home to take responsibility as the oldest brother. Philippe overheard the conversation. Jack was torn between his family and the life he had built with Philippe. Eventually, Jack showed Philippe his vulnerable side. His family situation was complicated. He was not his mother's biological son. He had been adopted when he was 8. After his adoptive father died, his mother remarried several times. The family kept growing, but none of the children were biologically related to him. Even in her old age, his mother was still struggling to hold the family together. Life had left Jack with an impossible choice. In the end, Jack packed his bags. The secretary he liked even came to say goodbye. Philippe watched Jack walk away. He felt a mixture of sadness and gratitude. No matter how much he wanted Jack to stay, he knew he could not stop him. Some people enter our lives only for a certain chapter, but that does not make their friendship any less important. When the neighbor blocked the driveway again, Jack did not lose his temper this time. Instead, he calmly talked things through. Jack finally returned home. For the first time, he and his younger brother went together to pick up their mother from work. Jack took her bag from her hands, and with it, he accepted responsibility for the whole family. The next day, Jack confronted the people who had caused trouble for his brother. He settled the situation and warned them to stay away from him. Jack then used his natural humor to find another decent-paying job. The Jack who once lived from one day to the next was slowly disappearing, but Philippe's life was getting worse. His new caregiver looked professional, but everything he did was cold and mechanical. Every movement followed a rule. Instead of making Philippe feel cared for, he constantly reminded him of his limitations. Philippe began pushing everyone away. His life became increasingly lonely. When the phantom pain returned, the new caregiver was too frightened to know what to do. The butler had no choice. He went to find Jack. People always say that every meeting must eventually end, but they also say that life has a strange way of bringing people back together. To cheer Philippe up, Jack took him out in the Maserati. Philippe looked miserable, so Jack stepped on the gas and started racing through the streets. It did not take long for the police to notice them. Jack kept driving through the city, but the police quickly pulled them over. After getting out, Jack was immediately stopped by the officers. He explained that Philippe was seriously ill and needed urgent medical attention. Then Philippe joined the act. He pretended to be having a severe medical episode. The performance was convincing. With a wheelchair visible in the back, the officers eventually decided to escort them. For a brief moment, they were even allowed to move quickly through traffic. As soon as the officers went to call medical staff, Jack and Philippe quietly slipped away. They followed a country road until they reached the coast. Neither man said a word. They simply sat there and stared at the ocean. Jack understood something important. True strength does not always look powerful. Sometimes it is simply having the courage to keep moving forward. Life is not defined by every moment we live through. It is defined by the moments we choose to remember. Happiness does not come from pleasing everyone else. It comes from making peace with yourself. So protect your heart, take care of your own life, and keep moving forward. Jack pushed Philippe's wheelchair to the restaurant they had reserved. Then he returned the little souvenir he had taken from Philippe's house. Philippe looked confused until a familiar figure suddenly appeared behind him. At that moment, neither man needed to say a word. Everything they had been through was already written in their faces. Maybe at some point in life we all become like Philippe, lost and helpless, unsure of where to go next. Or maybe we become like Jack, struggling at the bottom and trying to survive one day at a time. But as long as we have the courage to face our problems, there is always a chance that life will surprise us with something better sometimes. The person who seems to need help the most may be the person who changes our life forever. And sometimes, the person who feels completely lost only needs one reason to keep going. That is the real meaning of their story. Not every wound can be healed. Not every regret can be erased. But friendship can give us the strength to face another day, and sometimes that is more than enough. This is the end of the story. Speed 1.2.